and to contribute to the student community on a larger extent. Well, myself, Yogesh, I have a decade of experience on the academic side, and I'm involved in digitalization of the entire academic and examinations to ease the burden on the faculty and to bring in more and more transparency and inculcate faith in the minds of the stakeholders. Now, with Professor Raghavendran sir is a very good friend of mine, and with this request, I'm here to deliver a webinar on outcome-based education. Well, whatever we do, there should be a result for that particular thing which should benefit to us to a greater extent. That is what, on a broader arena, what we mean by outcome-based education. Moving ahead with the today's webinar, we let us discuss something on outcome-based education. What do you mean by learning domains, assessments, outcome-based assessment, and then we'll go ahead with a formal discussion about various digital platforms that are available and would ease our burden. Well, uh, all the esteemed faculty members who are present over here, you are pretty much familiar with outcome-based education, and I will not enlighten more on that particular part. Just will glance on what exactly is OBE, how can we implement OBE, what are its key aspects, how are we supposed to, what is the OBE framework and everything, and go ahead. Now, OBE is nothing but a student-centric teaching and learning approach wherein the course delivery, assessments, everything is planned, keeping a stated objective or outcome in mind, and the measurement of that particular performance at different levels are done. Say, for example, if we are offering a program, in that program there are numerous courses that is being taught in the program for our students. For each and every course, we would have defined a set of outcomes. Say, for example, by studying this particular course or the subject, this is what my student would be able to achieve, or if this is what he will be able to do, keeping that particular thing in a mind. That is, before starting itself, we would pre-estimate what exactly is the outcome of doing this particular thing. Say, for example, if I move on this particular road, this would be my destination. So what I mean by this is that before we start the teaching learning process, we would have clearly set the destination as well as the path in which we are supposed to proceed. That is what we mean by the predefined outcomes. As well as, if a student is enrolled in a program, what is the benefit for him by getting enrolled into this particular program? What will he be able to do after the graduation? That is what is the program outcomes, what we would state. So what we mean by this is that OB will start with a clear picture of what a student should be able to do and design the curriculum, teaching learning process, assessments, and ensure that those outcomes are achieved by our students. This model will facilitate the continuous quality improvement. Now, how do we do this? Say, for example, if we are using something called as a particular topic, let me take an example of something called as software engineering as a course. In this, we have something called as introduction to software engineering. For this particular software engineering course, we would have defined a set of outcomes like, by studying this particular course, my student will be able to design a software or know more and more things about the software or fix the bugs in the software and so on. So over here, say for example, I have a topic called as introduction to software engineering. This particular topic, what is the teaching learning methodology that I will adopt? Say for example, will I be doing this now on a brainstorming method, or else a classroom delivery, or else a PowerPoint presentation, or a flipped classroom delivery and everything. So we do pre-estimate and analyze and interpret that what method are we supposed to use in order to deliver it to the student, so that the student would understand it to the maximum extent and will be able to achieve that particular outcome. So this is, on a broader sense, what we mean by outcome based education. Now, what is the benefit of giving this outcome based education? There are three different approaches, benefits. One is keeping the students into mind, and the other is with the institutions into mind. The students benefits is that the student will be able to solve problem, He'll be committed to ongoing learning, will become creative, he will have or more communication skills, he will be flexible, he'll be in line with the new technological developments, and he can work interactively, participate in management processes and decision making and everything. Why we tell all these things is that he will be attaining all the program outcomes or it's the graduate attributes. So keeping this in mind, these are the benefits for the student. Now, for the institution, the moment you start implementing outcome based education, it is for your accreditation. The moment you get accredited, there will be surplus funds that will be arriving to your institution, as well as the number of students intake can be increased in your organization. The reputation or the brand name of the institution in the society will increase. All those things will be the benefit for this one. Now, what is the benefit by implementing OBE for a teacher or also for a faculty? Faculty, we as a faculty, we are always committed to give the best to the nation. If we fail to give the best to the nation, our nation will not become stronger enough. Today, we are suffering from many external threats. Say, for example, even the very recent Indo-China border issues and everything. So we teachers are committed to give something very contributing to the nation by providing quality engineers or quality students or quality professionals to the nation. So that is one, and that giving that particular thing gives a satisfaction, and that is the most humble thing what a teacher can expect. Now, OB focus and benefits. OB addresses to what do we want the students to have, or what will he be able to do? How can we best help the students achieve it? This is by your teaching learning methodology, like how exactly am I going to deliver that particular topic? How will we know whether the students have achieved it? Is by designing the assessments, whether it might be your internal assessments, your surprise test, quiz, assignments, end-term examinations, or whatsoever. And how do we close the loop for further improvement? Once a subject is taught, once a course is taught, and the students achieve some outcomes or something, we are not supposed to stop at that particular point. We will have to take the feedback, retune ourselves, retune the curriculum so as to meet the societal needs as well as the stakeholders' needs. Then, what are the benefits of our outcome based education? So by implementing this outcome based education, the curriculum will be more directed and coherent, and graduates will be relevant to the industry or other stakeholders, and there will be continuous quality improvement in place so that we continuously tune ourselves to meet the stakeholders needs. Then actually the essence of education is that what matters ultimately is not what we teach to the students like the previous years, but what the student has learned, what the student has gained is what matters ultimately. Therefore, for each course we need to formulate the intended course outcomes or else the learning outcomes. What we teach, how we teach, and how we assess ought to be aligned to the intended learning outcomes. Successful outcome-based education implementation happens only when your curriculum design, delivery, and assessment fall in line. If any one of this falls out of the line, then we'll not be able to achieve our OBE implementation. And the quality of the teaching is just by the quality of learning that takes place by the students. Now, these are the aspects of OB. Previously and all, we used to call it as a subject. Subjects are addressed as course, whether it might be a theory, practical, or theory cum practical subject studied in a semester or by a student. Now, course outcome. Course outcomes are nothing but the statements which describe what the student will be able to do after learning that particular course is termed as a course outcome. Generally, course outcomes for any course shall be a minimum of 4 statements and a maximum of 6 statements, and all the statements should be written by the faculty in such a way that that is measurable. Then the program is defined. The program is defined as a specialization or discipline of a degree. It is interconnected arrangement of courses, co-curricular and extracurricular activities to accomplish predetermined objectives leading to the award of degree. Then I think we have some chat. Yeah.
I have made it. If any questions can be asked, so that they could write it over there. I am taking a note of the Jogesh. Don't worry.
Sure, sir. Sure. Yeah. Thank you.
Uh,
Then the program outcomes are the narrower statements or the specific statements that describe what the students are expected to be able to do by the time of graduation. So POs are always aligned closely with your graduate attributes. They are nothing but the elaborated statements of your graduate attributes. Then the program educational objectives of a program are the statements that describe the expected achievements of the graduates in their career, and also in particular what the graduates are expected to perform and achieve during the first few years of graduation. Then program specific outcomes. Apart from the 12 graduate attributes, there are 2 to 3 program specific outcomes can be written for each program, and these are the statements which describe what the student should be able to do at the time of graduation with reference to a specific discipline. Say for example, your program is something called as computer science engineering. By going through that particular program, what the student will be able to do specifically is to be written. Then the graduate attributes are dwelling numbers, are the attributes expected of a graduate from an accredited program. This is the general framework of your OBE. These are the main key constants for your OBE implementation. That is, you should have a specific mission and vision for the institution as well as the program, then the program educational objectives, then the program outcomes, and the course learning outcomes. These particular outcomes are always designed in consultation or inputs and feedback from the stakeholders, as well as like your alumni or the stakeholders, industrial representatives, university representatives. They all contribute, and collectively we design the mission vision of the organization as well as the department, PEOs, student outcomes, as well as the course learning outcomes. Once these things are done, then the individual faculty will go ahead with the course planning and delivery, the syllabus, teaching methods, learning activities, what are the tools that is to be used for their assessment and everything. And then the course assessment takes place. Once after the course assessment takes place, then it is indirectly contributing to the program assessment also, then to the institutional assessment. Then based upon those feedbacks and those results, then the improvements are considered, and that pays for your continuous quality improvement of your educational implementation. These are the key constituents of OBE, that is the vision, mission, POs, POCOs, and everything. Generally, while framing these particular things, that is the vision, mission, or POs or something, we go from a top to bottom approach. That is, first we design the vision, then the mission statement, then the program educational objective, program outcomes and specific outcomes, then the course learning outcomes and everything. But while checking or while implementation, we go ahead from the bottom to top approach. That is, first on the course basis, are the course outcomes achieved? CO to PO mapping is done. So then indirectly CO to PO and PSO is it being achieved? PO to PO mapping is done. So is the POs achieved? Then PO to mission elements or the mission statement is mapped. So by that we'll check on what exactly is the mapping status and the attainment levels. Based upon that, then we go ahead for your continuous quality improvement. In the very same sense, success, as I already told you, successful OB implementation happens only when curriculum design, delivery, and assessment fall in line. And in the organization structure, there are broadly two organization structures. One is the tier 2 and the other is the tier 1 organization. Tier 1 institutions frame their curriculum, that is nothing but their universities and autonomous institutions, and tier 2 institutions are the institutions which follow the curriculum as published by the university. Now, Let us see what exactly is the roles and responsibilities of various people involved in this particular process of OB implementation. The very first thing is the principal or the dean of the organization or the school is the one who frames the vision and mission of the school or else the institution in consultation with the stakeholders. He defines the program outcomes. He leads the institution or the school to and steers towards the excellence leading to accreditation, guides and oversees the activities of the department. Then comes the head of the department. He frames the vision and mission of the department in line with the institution's vision and mission. He frames the program specific outcomes and program educational objectives. He creates and maps program outcomes as well as the program educational objectives. He guides and oversees the activities of the departments, and he creates and hosts the surveys for your alumni, industry, program educational objective, as well as the PO survey, which paves way for the continuous improvement of the department. Then the program coordinator or else the NBA coordinator or whatsoever, the lead of the program, he assigns the courses to the faculty, reviews course outcomes and the mappings, creates activities to address critical mappings, identifies the learning domains that is to be used, assigns targets courses, um, oversees the complete activities of the department with regard to accreditation. Then the faculty, they frame the course outcomes for their respective courses, CO to PO mapping, PSO mapping, and they create the teaching learning program as per the learning domains. They assess the students through various methods. Results of the assessment is collected to calculate the attainment to see what their achievements. Then conducts course exit survey for indirect attainment calculation and also retuning of their course outcomes and their delivery patterns. And they continuously contribute for the overall development of the department as well as the students. Vision and mission. Vision is a futuristic statement like what exactly the institution or the department would be able to do down the line for a period of 10 years or something. Mission statement are essential statement which helps us to achieve our vision, and these are the graduate attributes like engineering knowledge as specified by the National Board of Accreditation, engineering knowledge, problem analysis, design and development of solutions, all these things. Then the program specific outcomes, as we already discussed, the statement of something which is specific, measurable and achievable that the student should be able to do after receiving instructions in it, and that program specific outcomes should be written in such a way that it considers these three components, that is the performance component, the condition component and the criterion component. Course outcomes, what the faculty writes should always be student focused and not the faculty focused. That means learning not coverage oriented. Alignment between course program and institutional level should be possible. Focus on abilities central to the discipline. Focus on aspects learning that will endure. Teaching students new modes of thinking is likely to have an impact on their future, and it should always be something like 4 to 6 so that it is measurable as well as achievable. Then the characteristics of a course outcome, the course outcome should always state what exactly the major knowledge that and the skills, attitude or ability that the student will acquire. The course outcomes should be expressed in terms of measurable or observable behaviors. Say for example, if it is in the case of a theoretical subject, it is a measurable, or else if it is in the case of a seminar or a project work or something, it is a observable behavior. And then course outcomes should be agreed upon by the faculty in a program and should drive the program outcomes so that they meet those program outcomes and everything. And it would be better to map the course outcomes to the learning domain in Bloom's or any other taxonomy that you believe in. Program outcomes of your ABET or NBA criteria, they are achieved through your course outcomes, and course outcomes are achieved through your curriculum content, your teaching learning activities and the assessment methods that you employ in order to teach that particular course. The educational experience that we create will enable the student to achieve our program outcomes. That is, whatever teaching learning methodology that we employ in order to make our students achieve and succeed is the educational experience that we create. And these particular things are all combination of an array of courses, and these particular array of courses have course outcomes, and they will be contributing towards the program outcomes as we make the CO to PO mapping, like whether it is highly mapped, weakly mapped, or moderately mapped, and so on. Then courses and their outcomes collectively achieve our program outcomes. In the very similar manner, topic level wise topic learning outcomes will collectively achieve our course outcomes. So topic level outcomes, course outcomes, and CO course outcomes achieve our program outcomes. Then, if at all, if a program outcome is not being achieved, now say for example, as for the graduate attribute, graduate attribute is 8 is with regard to ethics. Not all professional courses would be teaching something called as ethics. So what you can do is that you can, by looking for this particular thing, say for example, if that particular graduate attribute or the program outcome is not achieved, you can create additional extracurricular activities which would inculcate ethics in the student or the professional's mindset. That is what is the looking for gap and improving ourselves, so that we collectively improve and meet the stakeholders needs and contribute towards the development of our nation. Then outcome based education will tell what the student will be able to do. Outcome based curriculum, how do we design our curriculum and everything. Outcome based learning and teaching is with regard to how are my faculty teaching with regard to keeping this outcome based concepts in mind. Then outcome based assessment, how to measure the students success. Learning domains, majoritarily in our nation, we employ something called as the Bloom's taxonomy. And the irony is that majority of the organization only consider the cognitive domain, but you will also have to consider something called as the affective or the attitudinal domain, as well as the psychomotor domain. What do we mean by this cognitive, affective, as well as the psychomotor domain? Cognitive domain deals mainly with the theoretical concepts. That is what my student, there are levels of understanding like remembering, understanding, apply, create, evaluate, synthesize, and so on. So based upon these particular things, I have specific action verbs also. This affective or else the attitudinal domain will come into picture, like how exactly is he presenting himself in front of the jury. All those particular things should be considered. Say for example, when you have a technical seminar, majority of the institutions would be asking your students to download a paper, research paper, and you should understand that particular thing, remember it, make a presentation of that particular research papers and everything. While making the presentation, how is his attitude? So down the line, when he graduates himself, so will he be able to contribute to teamwork? How will his attitudinal skills are there? That particular thing also should be considered over here. Then going ahead with the psychomotor domain. Psychomotor domain is with regard to your skill-based learning. Like if he has done a project or a physical equipment or something, how well has he prepared that particular thing? Though, so in order to measure those skills, you have the psychomotor domain. Moving ahead with the cognitive domain, as I already told you, there are 6 levels like remembering, understanding, apply, analyze, evaluate, create, or synthesize. For in order to set each and every, in order to understand each and every level of learning, we have something called the action verbs. Say for example, describe, identify, name. Now say for example, I can ask like what are the various, name the different types of softwares that is available in the market. If the student has studied, he should remember what are the different types of softwares that is available. So this is for remembering. If it is asked to explain the different types of softwares or compare the various softwares available, he should have understood you should remember and understand, like what exactly is the different softwares available and what does it do and everything. So apply, use in that particular ways for each level of learning. There are specific action verbs that is available, and the faculty shall be using these action verbs in preparing their assessments or the question papers. And faculty also shall use this level of learning to write their course outcomes. That is, the student will be able to remember the concepts of software engineering. He'll be able to understand, he'll be able to apply. That is how we'll have to frame the course outcomes also. Moving ahead, for your attainment calculation, attainments are calculated as a combined thing of both your direct and indirect attainments. Direct attainments is nothing but the final exam data summative, as well as the internal examinations data also formative, assessments data. Indirect attainment is by with your surveys or else the feedback that we take. Both the things are clubbed together in order to calculate your attainments. Now, successful OBE implementation, curriculum design, delivery, assessment. From assessment, we calculate the attainment, and from attainment, we again take it back to retune our curriculum to meet the stakeholders' needs. Then, outcome-based assessment, all questions for assessment to be framed using action verbs to achieve the outcomes and measure the attainments. And question papers to be balanced by asking relevant questions as per a framework which can actually be predefined by your organization or institution, with equal weightages for learning domains. Say, for example, remembering level 20%, understanding 20%, and so on. Student wise, question wise, performance is to be considered for your attainment calculation as well as your outcome achievement. Scope to be provided for improvement of slow learners using this attainments. So, the essence of digital platforms. Software-based platforms are very essential for the successful implementation of your OBE, as it would rather eliminate or reduce the burden on the faculty, or else merely the faculty would be do, faculty would be end up doing documentation work itself rather than concentrating on the teaching learning process. Then software-based platform would also help in easy identifying of the curricular gaps and its improvement, because in a manual method it is very difficult to track the performance of each and every student or club, both direct, indirect attainments. All those things are a Herculean task. Then identification of slow learners, and also bringing uniformity across the institution or across the department. Then digital valuation is also very essential to ensure a fair and transparent system of evaluation, enriching the stakeholders' confidence, and also student-wise, question-wise attainment calculation. Because if we follow a manual valuation, we in examination section, what happens is that the faculty or the evaluator would have marked the particular marks for each and every question. Again, keying it into your digital platforms, and then calculating the attainment would be an Herculean task. This is the place where it is like digital platforms would be very essential for academic and examination automation, so that the burden and the errors by the faculty are reduced to a greater extent. With regard to digital platforms, there are many players in the market, and it is very essential to thoroughly study the capability, experience, and exposure to academics of the vendor, their pricing policy, support, and services that they offer before finalizing them to suit our academic automation needs. And brand name, and what I would also tell is that brand name is not so important, but product feedback, support, and services feedback is to be considered by the institutions essentially before going out for automation. So last but not the least, curricular reforms based on OBE approach is a collective effort. Neither the head of the department or controller of examination or any one faculty cannot tell that we'll implement OBE or something. It is a joint effort and joint participation from each and every stakeholder of the organization, and it will also challenge some of our beliefs and mental modes, but it can make a big difference to our students' learning experience. Well, thank you. I would be very keen to answer your queries.
Thank you, Yogesh, for giving in a wonderful and a very structured way of presentation on outcome-based education. Now, on behalf of a general, this is a general question I'm asking before you, and there could be a specific questions from most of my, esteemed professionals here. Is it only necessarily fitting to the only engineering or only AICT, recognized, or anything which could go for the
This
universities
is
also?
in common. This is in common, Professor. You can fit into any this one. I had just taken one slide as an example as a engineering wala thing, but
Fine.
even NAC also requires your outcome-based implementation.
Mhm.
Any university which doesn't come under AICT's recognition, that is
Mhm.
non-technical institutions, also require outcome-based education. Generally speaking, any whatever is taught by you, it
Mhm.
requires something called as a achievements. That
Yes.
is what is the essence of our OB, sir.
Yes. The general perception across where I have made on a survey, people believe that the OBE is very, mainly focused towards engineering or more than of professional courses. So I wanted to
Yes.
break the ice over here because yesterday, if you look upon the December 2019, the UGC has come up with a recommendation with a very similar line. It is the same. What we call it as OBE, they have said LOBE, Learning Objective Based Education, and now it has been extended to the arts, science, commerce
Yes, sir.
colleges, everything. So
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to have whether this specific presentation is limited to the science or engineering group or general in nature.
It is general in nature, sir.
Okay. Well, one of the distinguished person who asked a question here, he's our, one second, sir. No, he has asked what are the different methods to cope up for with the slow learners. Do we have any
Okay.
methods or tools for that? Different methods so that the
Yes.
slow learner can cope up.
Yes. Um, Dear Professor Vaibhav, what I would like to tell you over here is that identification of the slow learner also is very, very important. Now, in the process of OB implementation, how we do identify our something called as slow learners is that by taking a target level, that what exactly should be my achievement for each and every course outcome. Keeping that particular target in mind, if we can set that this should be a minimum level what my students should be able to achieve. If some students are not able to achieve, or some slow learners would definitely not be able to achieve that particular thing, for those students what we can do is that, so we can take like what exactly is the problem statement, what is the root cause for that particular program, and then the corrective action. Say for example, in a particular course the student is not able to achieve the outcomes, and we term him as a slow learner. He might be a student who has come from a rural background. So the problem statement is that he has come from a rural background, is not able to understand the English as a medium of language or something. So he is finding difficulty over there. For that particular problem, the root cause is that English language is the root cause. So for that particular thing, what is the additional thing? We can take additional classes, and also we can support him in his something called as colloquial language, and see that he improves himself and gains the wide knowledge in the subject. That is how we can cope up with our slow learners. Apart from that, for a set of students, you can give assignment, or in order to make them proactive and everything, you can create a virtual tool like so that they can involve themselves in project building, hobby projects or something. So that is how we can cope up with the slow learners.
Okay. I think that the answer is been met. There is another question where one of the member itself have been answered, but still as she has been asked, Professor Salaka Godke has been asked, are there any graduate attributes applicable very specific for the management studies?
Yes, there is a set of graduate attributes applicable to management studies also. The graduate attributes of your something called as engineering is different, management is different, pharmacy things are different, polytechnic are different. They have different. This one management also has a different graduate attributes. And we have one more query from Professor Vaibhav. What steps to be in mind while framing the learning outcomes? While framing the learning outcomes, we got to be specific with regard to that particular course only. We should frame a maximum of 4 to 6 outcomes, Professor. As well as while framing this particular outcome, we should consider our learning domains as the key essential thing in your learning outcome. Say for example, the by learning the student or by learning this particular course, our students will be able to remember so and so concept, will be able to understand or will be able to apply, create such such key learning outcomes should be involved in our writing our course outcomes. This is and also these course outcomes should be essentially be able to achieve our program outcomes. These are the things which we'll have to keep in mind while framing our learning outcomes. Then,
So another question, very technical question, which I would like to ask you over here, where one of my friend Chandrasekhar has written, L5 and L6 level questions can be asked in a fixed hour examination. Is it possible or not?
no, sir.
Why
See,
not?
creating and evaluating to a major extent it is very difficult, because that what makes is that yes, the students will have to be extraordinarily very bright in order to answer L5 and L6 questions. So if you try to design your question paper with something called as L5 and L6 questions, it is like the weaker student or the slow learners, it would be very difficult for them. Ideally, uh, while designing a paper, we should keep in our mind that a good student should get good marks and an average should be a student should be able to pass the examination.
Sounds good. Sounds good, sir. Sir, well, two questions very important over here. One of the very prestigious and esteemed controller has been asking how far that we may be able to influence the OB for online classes in which practicals are getting limited, especially for the biological sciences. See, most of the people will discuss about art, science, engineering, and all. Okay, the gentleman who has written it, he is from the agricultural university, agricultural university. Okay, and how that OB can be taken forward in the agricultural university. I think that you could be able to give a better experience, I mean, better views on this.
Okay. Let me consider agricultural university itself. Even in agricultural university, we have varied of courses that is being offered. For each and every course, there is a definite outcome. Say, for example, let me take a horticultural course into consideration. In horticultural course consideration, you would be teaching like what is the manure that you will have to feed to the plants, what are the types of fertilizers that is to be used, and what say for example this course on horticulture, what is it catering to? By studying that particular course, what the student will gain, that is your outcome. One, then when you create your question paper, then in that you will be linking that to your outcomes. If the student has answered that particular thing and what marks he or she has gained, through that you'll be calculating your attainments. So outcome based education is applicable for each and every sort of education. It is not just limited to technical education itself, whether it is agricultural, social science, or whatsoever. OB is applicable everywhere.
Okay. Well, there's another question from Dr. K. Subramanian, sir. Is there any OBE templates available for the best practice? As we are divided between various universities, autonomous colleges, is there any available template? I mean, templates are available in the Google or wherever it is.
Yes, sir. They are available. They are available in plenty.
Acha, acha, acha. Okay, I hope that you might help us out by giving a template so that I could be able to help him out
Sure, sure,
indirectly.
sure, sir.
All right. Mahesh Gaikwad has also asked one question. Is it possible to analyze achievements in L5, L6 category? If you're not able to take up the examination, is it possible to analyze the achievements by the student?
Sir,
Oh.
let me tell Mahesh Gaikwad, sir, with regard to this. See,
Mhm.
L5 and L6 is essentially with regard to evaluate or creating or something. Now, say for example, let me take software engineering itself as an example. In this particular thing, what we tell the students will be able to create a software would be in one particular thing. If the student will be able to create a software, that is your L5 achievement. This can be automatically their achievement can be monitored everything by automation, but the thing is not all the students would be contributing to this particular thing. So that is what is the problem always with L5 and L6. L5 and L6 essentially when they do everything in practical, that is how we tell that they evaluation or synthesizing or something.
Mhm.
You can analyze their achievements everything, but normally speaking or ideally speaking, achieving L5 and L6 through a something called as a question paper based examination is difficult. Rather than that, for each and every course, if you have or I'm just addressing a technical course over here. If you have something called the hobby project club or something like that, through that you can analyze this L5 and L6 levels.
Okay, is there any other questions, ladies and gentlemen here? There is another question from Nitin. Is it necessary to follow Bloom's taxonomy for paper setting?
Uh, Very essentially, yes, because those are the action verbs which will help you to achieve your learning domain through which you will be able to achieve your OBE implementation. Say, for example, see what you do is that Bloom's taxonomy, describe so and so, or explain, or list the differences. So through that, these action verbs, as I showed you in your learning domains, L1 to L6, those action verbs shall be utilized by the question paper setter in the questions. That will help you to calculate your attainments for each and every question, and thereby also contribute to the measurement of the students' outcomes.
Yes, sir. Is there another question? Tell us about the mapping with CO and the performance indicators.
Okay. It is like a course outcome to performance indicator for each and every course outcome. Say, for example, certain times what happens is that your course outcomes might be too large or something. By studying this particular topic or something, the student will be able to achieve so and so. You would have defined that particular thing. For that, you can have performance indicators, individual tests or assessments or whatever, and through that indicators you will be able to measure the students achievements through the performance indicators.
Okay, is there any other questions? Time to wind up. Okay, well, Yogesh sir, you had a, as we discussed about it, that you're going to take through us through outcome-based education, and that you're going to compare the various digital tools available for examinations. You had some reservations for the digital tools. Can you able to let us know about it so that August gathering can also come to know about it?
Yes, we can discuss on the digital tools. There are varieties of tools that has been available in the market, but it is like as I already told you, you should be very very careful and selecting the tool for your academic advice as well as examination automation. Say for example, you'll have to see like what is the experience of the vendor, is exposure towards the academic automation, and so on. There are many people available for this OB implementation. What I would rate and recommend for institutions is that there is a software called as Ion Kudos from Ion Idea. This particular solution, this particular solution is a very, very versatile solution, and these are the people who have worked right from the grassroots level of OB implementation to the end point. They consider all your retuning of your curriculum gaps to everything, and it is a very, very simplified solution which will completely ease the burden on of the faculty and the management with the entire process of your OB implementation and accreditation and so on. And there are also this one there are other organizations also who offer this OB implementation, but through many whatever I have seen, it is Ion Kudos which is the best for your OB implementation.
Okay, thank you, Yogesh, for giving a commendable thoughts in outcome-based education. Is any other gentleman has got a questions here to keep it before? Dr. Mohit sir, good evening. Very good. All right, we will wind up for the day, and the next within the next 15 days that we're going to come out with another topic where the gentlemen will come out and we'll have a collective decision which topic that we're going to discuss. Once again, I thank Professor Yogesh Mahadevaya for giving an excellent views about the outcome-based education. And I do request that you often come and deliver the lectures on examination reforms and other things. It will be helpful for our the group as well. Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for being very patient and listening here. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for your esteemed presence for the today's session. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, sir. Thank you.